And greetings YouTube gamers, welcome to another episode of Retro Raider. My name is Johnny Retro and welcome to the channel. So on my last video I asked you guys if you wanted me to do a Q&A. And a lot of you sent me questions, so today I'm going to answer to them in this video. So let's take a closer look of your questions right after this. Okay, so the first question comes from Riechst So Gut. My friend, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, so I'm going to stick it with Riechst. Do you have your consoles modded for 60Hz? No, not at the moment. I really don't like to mess with the original hardware, and I think that the only two consoles that I have modded are, my NES, which is region-free, and I do have a CMVS, which is a Neo Geo MVS motherboard, consoleized. And that console has a lot of stuff, it has the Unibias chip installed, it has RGB output, custom paint. I actually did a video about that, I can leave the link on the description box below. And I used to have a 60Hz mod on a Super Nintendo, but I ended up selling it, like I said, I really don't like to mess with the original hardware. And if I feel the need to take something more out of the games, I just use my Retron 5. So no 60Hz modded consoles for me at the moment. Next question comes from David Pinto, and David brought me two questions. So the first one is, how do you feel about downloadable content for games? Okay, so here is the thing, I'm a kid from the 90s, so I grew up with physical media. And I know that DLCs are, a staple nowadays, and I'm okay with DLCs. I mean, if the DLCs bring us something fresh to the game, but my problem is when the DLCs are used to, reshape the whole thing or to fix stuff. And that's a big problem with gaming companies nowadays. I think that games are being rushed to the market, and companies, I don't blame them. They just want to make a buck, and make more bucks with DLCs. So I have a problem when I buy a new game, would it be physical or digital, and then I have the feeling that the game isn't completed, and I need a DLC to complete it. And that's my only problem with DLCs. Now, the second question is, what kind of games would you like to see more of in the future? I would really like to see classic franchises again, being brought to life, but not with, remasters or remakes. I would like to see a brand new Crash Bandicoot game, for example. And I also like, the new genre, which I like to call, the new retro games. Modern games, but with a retro approach. Stuff like Stardew Valley, Axiom Verge on the Switch, stuff like that. Next question comes from PTK779. What is your favorite genre? Greetings from Germany. Well, greetings to you too, my friend. I must say that Germany is a country that it has a special place in my heart, because it was the first and only time that I played a gig with my band outside of Portugal.
Let me see your devil horns in the air, Germany!
So it really warms my heart to know that I have people in Germany watching me. Now, when you say what is my favorite genre, you didn't say if it is my favorite genre of music or video games. When it comes to music, the answer is simple: metal. When it comes to video games, it is RPGs. I love role-playing games. I grew up playing them. Stuff like Dungeon Crawlers on PC, games like Darkstone, Dungeon Siege, Diablo, and of course a lot of JRPGs as well, Final Fantasy, Pokemon. And RPGs to me in the end, it really doesn't matter if it has, superb graphics and amazing mechanics. And of course those things are important, but, if the story is good, if the plot is good, if the characters are appealing, I'm sold. There is not a video game genre that, makes me feel like I'm a part of a game like an RPG. So yeah, RPGs for the win. Next question comes from Darkness FX. Tell me about one or more games in your collection that disappointed when you played it, those that you've had pre-launch hype, but the game didn't meet the expectations. Well, my friend, I could make an entire video about that. So just let me grab two games from my shelves here. One is a PS2 game, and the other one is a PS4 game. Okay, so on the PS2 side of things, Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness. So I grew up with the PS1, I grew up playing Tomb Raider, I grew up with Lara Croft. And I was very hyped about this game because it was going to be, the first time that we're going to see the new Lara. And I love all of the games on the PS1, I still have my original copies. And I remember seeing screenshots of this game in gaming magazines. And I also know that this is considered to be the black sheep of the Tomb Raider franchise. And with a good reason, because, it is not that it is a bad game. It is just a bad Tomb Raider game. It doesn't feel like a Tomb Raider game at all. It feels like I'm playing some kind of, detective game. So this is number 1. Number 2, and I'm going to receive a lot of hate about this, but I don't care. Final Fantasy 15 on the PS4. The thing with this game for me is that I did had a lot of hype and expectations with this game. Because to me, the last good Final Fantasy game that I've played was Final Fantasy X. Then of course Final Fantasy X-2, we don't talk about that game on this channel. Final Fantasy 13, we also don't talk about that game on this channel. And Final Fantasy 15, it is a beautiful game, but the same thing with Tomb Raider, it doesn't feel like a proper Final Fantasy title for me. It is very bland, the whole game is very bland to me. I didn't like the stories, I didn't like the characters, especially the main one. Noctis is just a little bit And I finished this game without using any magic at all. So when you're playing a Final Fantasy game and you don't need to use magic, it's because something is wrong with the game. And there you go. Next question comes from Toasty. Awesome nickname. Awesome nickname. Heaviest riff ever. Okay everyone, turn up your speakers. 1, 2, 3. Rammstein, Du Riechst So Gut, which I believe it is translated to You Smell So Good. Rammstein, my favorite band of all time, and this riff, as a huge industrial metal fan, it doesn't get much heavier than this. Du Riechst So Gut from Rammstein. Last but not least, I have a couple of questions from It's a Pixel Thing. And guys, I really need to give a huge shout out to this guy. It's a Pixel Thing is one of the best, if not the best, retro gaming channel in Portugal. This guy has a ton of quality content on his channel, so feel free to check him out. I will leave a link to his channel on the description box below. So he brought me 3 questions, and the first one is, do you have a favorite 8 or 16-bit computer? Tell me which one and why you consider it a favorite of yours. So my friend, I didn't grow up with computers, but as a retro gaming collector, my favorite machine is this baby right here. The ZX Spectrum is a system that I think that I first played it back in 2009 or 2010, and I fell in love immediately with the machine. And we all know that it isn't the most beautiful and powerful 8-bit machine out there, but it has its own charm. It is a very unique machine. And the thing that I love the most about this machine is the amount of content that's on it. Still to this day, people are bringing new games to it, and that's why I love the ZX Spectrum. Question 2 from It's a Pixel Thing. Tell me your top 3 favorite bands and the albums that somehow were an inspiration to you and to your band. Number 1, Rammstein. Favorite album, probably Mutter. I just love that album, and it was part of the original Matrix soundtrack. Amazing soundtrack, by the way. Number 2, it has to be Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar. I'm a big Manson fan, since the days of Mechanical Animals. But when I discovered Antichrist Superstar, that album, it really changed my life. My favorite song of all time is on that album, The Beautiful People. And that album, it actually brings a lot of influences to my band, especially on the lyrics. Now, third band, probably Slipknot. And there's an album from Slipknot that me and my band, we listen to it all the time. And that album is the masterpiece, Iowa. To this day, I think that album is one of the best metal albums of all time. It's got everything in it, it is raw, it is powerful, it is heavy as fuck. So there you go. And last question, favorite video game era. So my first video game console, and I've said this before, was the PS1, but I've actually played a lot of Sega Mega Drive before that. And when it comes to retro video games, my sweet spot is the 16-bit era. So everything from the late 80s to the mid 90s. The fourth generation of video game consoles, stuff like, Mega Drive, the Super Nintendo, Neo Geo. That's my sweet spot, it really is. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for your questions, guys, and let me know in the comment section below if you guys want me to do another one of these Q&A in the future. And as always, everyone, don't forget to put a like on this video, please subscribe to the channel, and take care of yourselves, take care of the gaming community, and game a lot.